Hey everyone. Never done a video before. Don't really know why I am doing this. It's not really my style to be in front of a camera, but for some reason I just decided I was going to do it this way. About 5 weeks ago, I posted on Facebook that I had ordered one of the Ancestry DNA kits and that I had sent that back and I just had to wait. So on Friday, they emailed me my results. It really wasn't exactly what I was expecting, and I don't know, I half thought it was going to be something completely different than what I grew up believing, but at the same time was half expecting it to be nothing of shock value. Um, it was not entirely the case. I did find it rather amusing. Um, So, but before I get into the results, I wanted to go over really briefly the type of DNA tests that are primarily done. Because with my original post and a few people that I've told about doing this, I kind of thought there was some confusion about the testing that gets done. So the three primary DNA tests are the Y chromosome test, which is only a father to son test. Daughters can't do this test, it's only males that can. There's a mitochondrial DNA test, which is a mother to child test. So, sons, daughters, both can do this particular test. What I did is called an autosomal DNA test. It kind of combines both of the other tests. I mean, if you want to sort of narrow it down to just a very basic summary, um, because it determines your heritage or your lineage from both sides of your DNA, not just what you get from your dad or what you get from your mom. So this one, they look at all 23 chromosomes, which contain over 700,000 locations that they are pulling this information from. Pretty interesting, really. I mean, that's huge when you're considering all you're giving them is this little tiny vial of spit, and they're pulling that much out of there. It's kind of crazy in a really cool way to me. Um, so, uh, one website I was looking at through this process, but I was just kind of, you're like drumming your fingers, just waiting and waiting and waiting for this test to come back. Um, so I watched a lot of other videos, and um, one website I went to was an Australian company that kind of does the same thing that Ancestry DNA does, and they said that these tests can go back 6 generations or more. Ancestry DNA listed it as a few hundred years to maybe 1,000 years that they can pull something from. So it's a pretty big span of generations. And when I look back at some of my results, I get why some of them are really small percentages, because it would be going back that many generations. Um, which kind of gets me to the other thing I wanted to talk about in what I believed growing up, and I suspect it's what most people believed growing up once we started, I guess, understanding that, we are made up of DNA and how DNA works a little bit. So, because I'm not really good at explaining myself with words, I drew a really bad diagram. Um, so this is my dad. We're just going to pretend that's him. That's not really him. Exactly. My dad is what my grandfather always called a Heinz 57. He was a little bit of everything. Nobody really knew what there was in him. I mean, there was thought there's some German. We knew there was Native American, but the rest was just kind of like, yeah, maybe French. We're not really sure. So I'm going to pretend like that is my dad. We're going to divide him up into 4 particular cultures, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word. We're going to say that he's 25% of each. And then my mom grew up always believing she was 100% German. That's where all of her family came from, was Germany. So she's 100% German, which meant that I had to be 50% German. Like there was no other way about it. I was 50% German if she's 100%, which meant that I am now 12.5% Native American, 12.5% German, 12.5% French, and 12.5% Italian. That's what I grew up believing. It's crap. That is not true. That's not how it works at all. Yes, you get 50% of your parent, of each parent, but you don't necessarily get 50% of everything they are. So like if my dad really was 25% Native American, maybe I'm only 5% and I'm 20% German, or it's just it's very random. We are not this ordered in our DNA. We are completely random, pulling from different parts of each parent's lineage. So it kind of blows my mind that everything I thought isn't accurate. Just kind of blows my mind a bit. So one of the other things, a couple of things that I want to talk about regarding the Ancestry DNA test, if anybody's interested about the test itself, they send you, it's just a little tiny box, and it's got a vial in it, and it looks huge, so you think you're going to be there for half an hour trying to gather enough spit to fill this thing. They have a label on the vial with the kit number so that they can always match it to you. And what you can't tell is that the part of the vial that you spit in is actually like really small. I think six or 7 spits, and it was full as it needed to be. So it was really, really simple. Did not take a lot of time. You just have to make sure that you haven't been chewing gum, eating, or I think brushing your teeth for maybe a half hour or something like that. And then there's a cap on the top that just screws into the vial, and it releases a stabilizing fluid, and then you just mail it off. They email you to let you know that they've received it. You have to activate the kit so that it registers for them that you have actually done this and it's being returned, and so that they know to expect it. So then they email you that they've got it. They let you know once it's actually in their lab and in process of testing, and then they email you when they have your results. So the test itself, very, very painless, very quick. It's just a waiting game, and that's kind of the hard part. They list on their website that they have a quality standard of at least 98% accuracy, and that if it's below the 98%, they may send you a second kit and have you give them a new sample to test. So obviously that's up to 2% inaccuracy, but that's pretty small. And so I think the results that you get are going to be pretty darn accurate. If you want to test for Native American, they can tell you whether you have Native American in you. Unfortunately, they don't have very many samples to predict a specific tribe. So if you're hoping to prove one tribe over another, you can't do that at this time. They just don't have enough samples from that. So the other thing that I think is important to note about it is that they give you what they call a trace region, which it's where they have a predicted percentage of less than 4.5%. So basically what they're saying is that they're getting something that indicates that region, but they don't have enough data, I'm assuming within your DNA, to predict more specific information. So I think, in my opinion, if it's at least a 98% accuracy that they are telling me this is what I am, I think the trace region probably indicates that quite a few generations back, there was somebody in one side of my family um, from that area. So it's, like I said, it's under 4.5%. So it's not a huge amount, but I do think that it's enough accuracy in general that I can accept. Hey, somebody somewhere's some point in my history was from this location. Um, so I guess as a disclaimer, my information that I'm giving you is strictly from Ancestry DNA. There is another company here in the United States called 23andMe that does this test. They do another test, or they do it in conjunction. I really don't know. I know very little about them. They are a legitimate company from what I understand, but they can test for other things, which I think would just be kind of interesting to see how accurate it is. Although from a few videos I watched, their predictions are pretty accurate, but they can predict hair color, eye color, sense of smell issues, taste things, just a whole bunch of interesting things that kind of make you, or at least a trait of who you are. So I think that would be more fun, but the test does cost more money generally. So I don't know that it's really worth it. Like my dad said, he already knows what his color of eye is. He already knows whether he's right-handed or whatever. So, I mean, unless you really have money to just like, hey, that'd be cool, whatever, I don't care, then I don't really see the point in it. So, so my information is solely based off of Ancestry DNA. So the results. When I first opened it up, I saw that I was 95% European, and I started laughing because I thought 95%, holy crap. Well, hello, all of our ancestors came from Europe. That's probably pretty common. Most people are probably going to be pretty high European. Maybe not. I don't know, but I'm assuming yes. So it's more of the breakdown where it gets interesting to me. Keep in mind, I've believed my entire life that I was 50% German and that I was also 1/16 Native American, because my grandmother was a 4th, my dad's an 8th, therefore I'm a 16th. That's how that worked. No, it doesn't. So, out of my 95% European, I am 55% Great Britain. That's England, Scotland, and Wales. I'm part Scottish. I don't know why, but I laugh. I think that is so awesome. I would have never in a million years thought that I was Scottish, or potentially Wales, I guess, but England, Scotland, and Wales. 55% of me. I was almost going to go to Scotland next year. Clearly, I need to renew that thought. A little bit of ancestry there. So there are other countries that can influence that, but the predominant countries that they see those traits in are England, Scotland, and Wales. So that's all I'm going to be giving you, really, is just the primary locations that this information comes from. So after that, I am 23% Europe West. Here are the countries that make up Europe West: Belgium, France, Germany. Germany, 23%. My mom's not 100% German, guys. Netherlands, Switzerland, Luxembourg, and Liechtenstein. I'm not 50% German. So obviously, my mom's family came from Germany. We know that going back a few generations. But we also know that there was a lot of intermarriage between countries, hundreds of years ago. So I suppose it's probably pretty hard to predict that you are like 100% of something just because your family came from an area. So clearly, I'm not 50% German. My mom's not 100%. So here was one that kind of surprised me. Excuse me, surprised me in a good way. I've always kind of wished I was a little bit of this, but really didn't think that I was. I am 8% Irish. 8% Irish. So that makes me 63% Irish, English, Scottish, and Welsh. That's a lot. That is a lot. Clearly that's not just from my dad's side of the family. My mom's side of the family is obviously influencing that to some extent. She has to. That, I don't know, that just really that's pretty incredible to me for some reason. So the low confidence regions for Europe was 4% Iberian Peninsula, which is Spain and Portugal. Spain? I don't know anybody in my family that is Spanish or Portuguese. I've never even heard of that. That's crazy to me. Spain. Obviously, that's a lot of generations back if it's only 4%. Then there was 3% Europe East, which is like Poland, Czech Republic, Austria, Russia, Croatia, Moldova, Ukraine, like a whole bunch of countries from that area. But it's 3%. They can't narrow it down any more than that. So that's really kind of interesting, I guess, but not shocking if you have like German in you, because that kind of seems like those regions just kind of are, they're right next to each other, I think. So, and then the last low confidence region was Scandinavia, which is 2%. And that's Sweden, Norway, and Denmark. It's also really, really small. Then we move from Europe. This next one is all a low confidence region because it's so little. This is the one that shocked me. It literally shocked me. I am going to combine the two of them because they all really are within a region. It's 4% of one and 1% of the other. So it's really, I'm just combining it. I am 5% West Asia. I didn't have a clue what West Asia meant until I saw these results. I mean, I hear Asia, I always think, oh, an Asian country, right? Like China, Japan, Thailand. Those are Asian countries. West Asia? No. That's the Middle East. I'm 5% Middle Eastern. Yeah, Middle East. Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Turkey, Jordan, Oman. Like, Middle East! 5%! How the crap did that happen in my family? Like, that is so bizarre. That's not anywhere. I mean, that's like so much further down from Europe. I don't know. That blows my mind. It blows my mind every time I look at that. Maybe it shouldn't, but it does. I did not expect that at all. If you've been following the percentages, you realize I've now hit 100%. I am 0 Native American. 0. 0. My whole life, I've told people I was Indian. I was a Blackfoot Indian. And I had that in me. We've traced it to the ancestor. We know it's there. I'm not it. Not it. Blows my mind. I'm going to tell my brother it's because he was born first and he sucked it all out of my dad and there was none of it left for me. That's what I'm going to tell him. He's not going to believe me. He'll laugh. But I'm going to tell him that. In fact, actually, I'm going to tag him on this so he sees it. It's his fault I'm not Indian. Apparently I'm Middle Eastern, though. He's probably not. So that's my result, guys. 95% European, 5% Middle Eastern. So here's what I've really learned about this. Not just my ancestry, not just knowing what random components of my parents that I pulled from when, during that moment of conception or whatever. I realized this is my test. These are my results. Not even my brother is going to have these results. This is far more personal than I ever thought it would be. I just thought this would be really cool to see, where my ancestors came from. Try to understand my dad's side of the family a little bit, because we didn't really have information about that. And I was curious about whether my mom, really is 100% German. I admit, I was really curious about that. But this whole thing started simply because of curiosity. That's all it was just curiosity. I just thought it'd be fun to do. And I don't know, for me at least, it's been a little bit more than that. I'm finding that this has become a little bit more personal, realizing that this is me. This is what kind of makes me a little bit, and that this isn't going to be anybody else. It's just going to be me. So I do recommend doing it if you can swing the cash. I think their normal price is like $99. Lately, they've been running some specials for $79, I think. They may be having that going on right now, but it could end tomorrow because they've been advertising it as like a Father's Day thing. So, not sure. If you can swing it, do it. It's fun. And it's surprising. Some of your results are going to be really surprising. And I just think that knowing how it really works, I think most people are generally going to be surprised by your results. So I wholeheartedly recommend it. It's been fun, and I'm going to keep looking at those results, and I'm going to keep laughing, but in a good way, because it's been fun.